You are listening to a Blaze Bible Reflection. Today's passage is Luke 8, verses 49 to 56, read by Ivan. Child, get up. In Luke's account of Jairus' daughter, the miracle begins before the girl even moves. Jesus Christ walks into the room where the little girl is lying. Everyone else believes the story is finished. They are crying and saying nothing can be done. Jesus does not begin with a speech. He walks to the bedside, bends down, and takes the little girl by the hand. Then he speaks with quiet authority. Child, arise. Before the command comes the contact. Before the miracle comes the touch. Jesus does not speak life from across the room. He reaches into the stillness, takes her hand, and speaks where death seemed to have the final word. This moment shows that the call to rise is never separated from the presence of Christ. He does not tell us to stand while remaining far away. He draws near, holds our hand, and speaks into our weakness. It is as if he says, I am here with you. I see where you have fallen. I know how long you have been lying there. Take hold of my hand and do not let go. Because I am holding you, you can rise. Notice also the word he uses. He says, child. Luke does not emphasize the age of the child as much as the relationship. She is a child of God the Father. Jesus speaks with tenderness. He does not address a failure or a hopeless case. He addresses a child. That word breaks through every label that despair tries to place on us. You are not only someone lying in defeat, you are a child of God. And when the Father speaks to his children, he speaks to awaken them. The room is filled with people who believe the story has already ended. They are mourning. When Jesus speaks about the girl rising, the crowd begins to laugh. To them, the situation is closed. But Jesus refuses the verdict of the crowd. Where they see an ending, he sees life returning. The crowd says it is over. Jesus says, get up. This contrast still exists today. There will always be voices that declare your situation finished. Voices of doubt, voices of memory, voices of discouragement. They will laugh at the possibility that something new can begin. But the voice that matters most is not the voice of the crowd. The voice that matters is the voice of Christ. And his word has never depended on human approval to become reality. Luke then records a brief but deeply reassuring line. Her spirit returned and she got up immediately. Life rushed back into her body. Breath returned to her lungs. Strength filled her limbs, and the result was movement. She did not remain where she had been lying. She stood up. The command of Christ carried the power to restore what had disappeared. When he spoke, the impossible reversed itself. The same pattern appears in our lives. When the voice of Christ enters a place of despair, life begins to return. Strength returns where exhaustion ruled. Hope returns where darkness settled. The word of Christ does not leave us where we are. It calls us to rise. Sometimes people expect a complicated answer to their struggles, but the word from heaven can be as simple as get up. Not everything requires long, drawn-out solutions or elaborate prayers. Sometimes all it requires is one strong prophetic word of healing and an act of unwavering faith. In our lives, there come moments when the voice of Christ cuts through the fog and calls us to stand again. Get up from discouragement. Perhaps you believed something would succeed and it failed. A hope may have failed, but failure does not write the final chapter of your life. Get up from shame. The past may accuse you, but grace speaks a stronger word. Your past is not your prison when God has released grace and spoken forgiveness. Get up from sin that pulls the heart away from God. The hand of Christ still reaches into that place and gives strength to stand. Get up from fear that keeps you from moving forward. Christ calls you to step beyond it. Get up from hopelessness. What people think is finished may be the very moment when God begins to act. Rising often begins with a small step. Something rising means hoping again after disappointment. Sometimes it means praying again after silence. Sometimes it means trying again after failure or believing again after doubt. Each act of rising is a response to the voice that still calls, "Child, arise." And that voice still echoes through every room where despair has settled. It speaks into bedrooms where tears have fallen, into hearts weighed down by regret, into lives that feel stalled and silent. The hand of Christ still reaches out. His grip is steady, His voice unmistakable. My child, get up. God bless you. Stay close to the Word. Dear Blaze Team.